This video is sponsored by nobody. You won't hear more about that later, because no one sponsored the video. So I'm clinging to my 20s for my dear life. I turned 30 in a few weeks, and it has me reflecting a lot on the last decade of my life. After a tumultuous decade filled with success, failure, and an entire pandemic, which we don't have to talk about, there's one thing I feel confident in, and that is my own creativity. We're probably a lot alike. I've had a ton of creative hobbies, from graphic design to photography, videography, motion design, you name it, I've probably tried it. And I've had a ton of job titles, from busboy to brand ambassador at Banana Republic to production assistant to copywriter to content creator to now creative director. Not really sure how that happened, but yeah, got the Urban Outfitter t-shirt job. I've worked a ton of long nights and weekends, been told no thousands of times, but have grown in the process. It's all part of this game we call creativity. From the moment my 20s began, I knew I wanted to pursue something creative, but I didn't really understand what a journey this would truly be. What I want you to know is that your 20s are not a time where you have to have it all figured out. There's no set age that you have to have everything figured out by. It's not like a grade in school. Your 20s are not about finding immediate success. They're about finding your focus. There are a ton of bozos out there giving out bad faith advice, trying to sell you on some kind of course or some sort of shortcut. There is no real shortcut here. This bozo is here to help you. I mean, I'm not a wildly successful person, but I feel like my journey has been significant and I've learned a ton along the way that I feel can help you. I'm honestly just a creative journeyman here to share my lore with you. And this is 100% free advice honed from my own personal experiences, good and bad. Disclaimer before I get started, this is not your career 101 resume, cover letter application type video. I'm here to help you figure out how to get the ball rolling on your creative career. So let's go. You gotta start somewhere. If there's any seed of creativity in you, I feel like there's a remote possibility that you could have a career doing something creative. So now's the time to choose a lane and get going. By choosing a lane, I mean picking some sort of realistic creative career that exists. This can be extremely broad. Maybe you're a good writer, you could become a brand or copywriter, or extremely narrow. Let's say you're really into illustration and color. You could eventually become a film colorist or color grader. So if you gotta get to work, what are you gonna work on? Number one thing has got to be spec work. Spec work is literally just work that you're doing speculatively for someone else. This can be a passion project, it can be aspirational for a brand that you wanna work for in the future. Spec work is all about showing your creative skills and capabilities. And you've gotta create it on par with what you wanna do with your career. Ask yourself what you're captivated by. Do you like watching sports, anime, comedy? Anything. Try to put that flavor into whatever you're working on. And work for anyone you can, even if it's unpaid. When you're in your early 20s, it is the best time to take any opportunity possible. It could be for your family, your friends, or even a local business. Some of my first clients were just college student groups. And this is a great time to figure out what your limits are. Maybe you're the type of creative who needs a long time to work on stuff. Like me, you could be someone who works really quickly and can juggle a lot of different creative tasks at once. It's all about putting the hours in and doing the work. And that's honestly the best way to get started. The time to be embarrassed is in high school. Once you're in college and starting out your career, you gotta let those feelings go. It will only benefit you to stop feeling embarrassed about any decisions that you're making, because there's nothing embarrassing about advocating for yourself. Growing up and showing maturity means being truly confident in all the decisions that you make. And there's no bigger decisions than the ones that drive your career forward, especially a career in creativity where the job is all about making creative decisions. It's every man for themselves out in the working world, so you need to be ready to sell yourself. You are your best salesman. You can hype up your skills, your attitude, and your work ethic, your ability to do the work. A lot of early work is gonna be stuff you don't necessarily want to do, it's stuff you have to do, but I always thought about it like RPG. You're grinding out experience, you're raising your level so you can eventually get to that next level and be working on something that might be a little bit more interesting or exciting to you. You also gotta learn how to be around people of all ages and all walks of life. I've learned a ton from older people that I've worked with, whether they're just a few years older or many decades older. You can always try to absorb as much information as you can from them and filter in the good with the bad. A lot of them are going to talk about how things used to be, which is really good perspective, I feel, because things are moving so fast now. It's great to know that things were not always this way. For example, I work in advertising, so it's really interesting to hear about how advertising was in certain cities during certain decades. The working world is the real world, so get used to it. So just because you are actively in one creative lane doesn't mean you can't switch to another one. I've had many times in my career where I was a writer and then I had to pivot into being a designer or content creator. I think a lot of creativity now is your ability to flex to another whole trope of creativity. Never be afraid to completely change what you do based on opportunity. This could happen to you any number of times during your career, so when it happens, you gotta be ready to pivot. And always try to accept new opportunities if your schedule can accommodate it. When you're young, you've got more time than you know, so being able to take those creative opportunities, even if it's something you may not necessarily be super interested in, is always the right move. And do your best to be looking around at other creative lanes. Maybe you're a photographer and you want to get into video editing. It's a good idea to sort of look around at what the parallel trades are based on what your sole focus is. Elements of one creative lane or hobby can help you build strength in another. I've had friends who are super interested in Twitch streaming, and then they've used that knowledge in their professional advertising job to help them build brand strategy for companies that wanted to advertise on Twitch. You never really know which one of your creative hobbies could actually help you in the future. So it's all about being yourself and staying true to what you're interested in. One word that's going to be absolutely key in your creative journey is the word yes. It's kind of like that stupid Jim Carrey movie where he says yes to everything. Is it called Yes Man? I think it's called Yes Man. You gotta be impressionable, be a sponge, and soak up expertise from all angles possible. And you're gonna come across some awesome people in your creative journey, so make sure you're soaking up as much information as you can from them. This could be a great opportunity for you to write down what's going on, whether you're journaling or just taking notes about what people, the experts around you, are talking about. I've got tons of notebooks from my career, whether it was just talking about what my day-to-day work is or even just doodling. Also, you gotta have a positive mindset. That is a part of being malleable. You gotta make sure that any external negativity is not affecting you too deeply. YouTube is honestly one of the most creative resources out there, maybe one of the most creative resources there has ever been. It's obviously great for tutorials when you need that technical knowledge to move forward. And it's also incredibly inspiring to see people's creative journeys that you can literally follow if you go back in their timeline. And while content creators do end up making some pretty niche content, a lot of their skills do transfer over into different facets of creativity. Watching YouTube has made me want to push myself further because I see all these people out there making these incredible videos and I know I can do the same. YouTube is a great place to figure out what your next creative project is. Just last night I was watching the YouTuber Willem Verbeek and he was talking about film photography projects that he's working on. YouTube is a huge canvas for all different types of artists who are expressing themselves and showing their creative journey. You can see what people are accomplishing in their videos, follow their journey, and achieve with them in your own way, along your own path. YouTube has been huge for me in my creative journey. I didn't watch a ton of YouTube until about a year ago. I was playing way too much League of Legends, so I literally sold my PC. With some of the money that I got from that, I decided to get a YouTube premium subscription so that I could really jack into the content matrix. And I really wanted to become a more creative person, so surrounding myself with all this creative content has been great for me and my channel to essentially craft and keep consistent. Finding other creative friends to work with can be super special. You can team up with people or even take on bigger projects. One of my new favorite channels is one called Hive Mind, and the two hosts' chemistry is one of my favorite parts of the channel. It's two guys talking about hip hop, sports, and pop culture, and the way that they interact with one another in these videos is what keeps me coming back. Feels like I'm observing a friend group from afar. Having other creative friends is great because you can learn from their skills and interests and maybe even become interested in what they're doing. And professionally, you can even become work partners. People that work in advertising are art direction and copywriter partners. I've worked with some duos who have been working together for literally decades, and it's only helped positively benefit them in their careers. Having creative compadres is great because you always have someone you can bounce your ideas off of too. And this makes working remotely or working from home doing something creative innately less lonely. If you have friends you can engage with on a creative project, this is a whole new way that you can socialize with them and work towards a common goal together. I've worked with friends on zines, music videos, podcasts, sketches, you name it, I've probably tried it. But yeah, a great way to make friends is just through creativity. Well, I hope that was in some way helpful. When I was entering my 20s, I was pretty lost compared to where I'm at right now. And I could have really used some advice, so this is me putting that positive energy out there. Hopefully, if you're watching this, if you're in your early 20s, this can help you. Entering the working world is a lot, and a lot of you have had to navigate the entire whole pandemic, remote schooling situation, so the working world is a lot more complex than that, especially in terms of the creative jobs that are available. In thinking about that, I knew I wanted to just extend a positive message out there and help out some young creative people who may be struggling or trying to figure out what their next move or even their first move is. So anyways, this has been Dansplaining, how to get your creative career started. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to like, comment, and subscribe, that would be awesome. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.